Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. I'm in the office today because we're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have hit our shelves in the last week. Let's check them out. Alright, the first piece of big news this week is undoubtedly the release of a new ZT. This is the new 235, designed by Jens Anso, and of course you've kind of seen this handle before on the 230. New variant now with a different blade shape, as well as a pocket clip that comes in at the same price as that old knife at $180. Now, even though ZT markets this as a slip joint, I have to say it's not technically a slip joint because there's no back spring here. This is more the style of folder that we refer to as a double detent folder, in that we've got essentially, it's kind of like a lock bar, but there's no lock, obviously. We've got a bar, one on each side of the handle with a small detent ball, and that's what holds the blade open. Now, it doesn't take too much to push that past the detent and close the knife, but you do get a nice little half stop there. So if you do happen to accidentally close it, at least you've got that half stop there. But this is not going to take as much pressure as a traditional slip joint will, so make sure you keep that in mind. But because that detent is supplied by those bars in the handle, this is technically more of a friction folder than an actual slip joint. But whatever you call it, I really like this new blade shape, even more so than the old sheep's foot variant. We've got kind of a modified Wharncliffe profile going on, just a little bit of belly here. It's not a perfectly straight cutting edge itself, but we've got CPM 20 CV steel, a little bit over 2.5 inches, full flat grind, nice acute tip. I really like the way that's gonna work very nicely. Something it has in common with that slip joint is with the tip being a little bit down as you go to actually cut with the tip or to pierce things, the direction of force is going to be heading back towards the top side of the knife, which is good. I think I would hesitate if there was a lot of upswept belly on this to use the tip on a knife like this because it'd be more likely to disengage. But because that force is going that way, it works well for this type of design. Those handles are carbon fiber, nice and thin, nice and lightweight, blue aluminum backspacer, and of course we've got this deep carry pocket clip right here that is very, very deep carry indeed. It goes up past the top of the handle, so that really is gonna just bury nice and deep in there, and with a thin clip like that, you know, you'd be hard pressed for anyone to recognize it as a knife. It looks more like a clip to a nice ink pen. And it's reversible too, so it's left or right side carry with that. It's a ZT, it's made in the US, and even though this is not a flipper, which they're very well known for, this double detent design does let you get a little bit of a fidget factor, a little bit of flickability on the close. You can kind of load the pressure and pop it shut just like that. So it's a pretty cool design. I like the new blade shape a lot. There you go, new ZT 235. We've also got a new SPYDERCO released this week. This is the CANIS, a design by Kelly McCann, and this comes in at $192.50 right now. This is another Wharncliffe shape, although we've got just a perfectly straight edge with this particular Wharncliffe. Steel on this is S30V, about 3.4 inches or just under 3.4 inches there. We're hollow ground here on the main section, and we've also got a small flat ground section here on the back. Sort of acting as a swedge, but it does get thicker out here again near the tip. That swedge doesn't go all the way out towards that, so you get a little bit more rigidity there at the tip, but a little bit of relief on the spine for cutting back here. So if you're using this on stuff like cardboard, if you use that middle section of the blade, it's going to move a little more efficiently than it would if it were a full thickness spine right there. Of course, you can open it easily with that SPYDERCO thumb hole, but you've also got their compression lock here, which is spine mounted. So you've got easy one hand open and close, and it keeps your fingers out of the path of the blade too, which is something I always appreciate. We're gonna have something else with that here in a few minutes, which I think you'll be interested in as well. Handles on these are a carbon fiber G10 laminate, a carbon fiber, peel ply carbon fiber and G10 laminate. You've got G10 as the base and that peel ply there at the top. Other things you got some good SPYDERCO traditional elements here, such as a 4-position pocket clip. Carry it tip up or tip down on the left or the right side. We've got open-backed construction, full inset liners. It's just a really nice design. I'd say it fits in my hand pretty well. The tip points rather intuitively. Because it's that Wharncliffe, when you kind of extend it out, the tip does present itself in a very intuitive fashion, which is pretty nice. That works well, I think, because they designed this sort of as a tactical knife, but even if you're going to use it as a work knife, that Wharncliffe profile is just going to be a very strong cutter, and it's a Spyderco. The fit and finish is going to be great. Another Spyderco to show you, and it may look a little familiar. We've got a new variant of the new glow-in-the-dark Zome handles on this Delica, now with a black-coated VG10 blade. If you remember, we actually showed off those other knives a little bit ago, and it's pretty much the same except for that difference in the blackness there. You got black on the blade, on the lock bar itself, and on all the hardware as well. 4-position pocket clip. It's a painted clip here. This knife comes in at $111. I don't know if I mentioned that. And I think the satin version of the Delica has sold out. So if you want one of these, you got just the black option right now. Now the handles are glow-in-the-dark Zome. The Zome, of course, they've had a few knives with the Zome handle before, but the glow-in-the-dark is a new addition. Each of these handles is hand-dyed, so each one's a little bit different, and that dye goes completely through that FRN. And even when it's not glowing, I like the looks of these. They've got kind of an aggressive camo look, which I know camo's supposed to blend in, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But then when that glow pops in the dark, it looks even better. Plus, it's on the Delica, which is a great EDC knife. Your blade is just under 3 inches long. It's a nice full flat grind, good cutting profile. I kind of think of these blades as sort of like modified Wharncliffes as well, because you don't have a ton of belly and you do have a fairly acute tip coming down there. Argue with me in the comments, go ahead, I welcome it. But also 4-position pocket clip, ambidextrous lock, ambidextrous opening. It works for lefties or righties. The length is just right for taking just about anywhere, and this version looks extra cool. All right, we've got a new version of the DPX Hest F. This is the 3.0 in the triple black version right here. And it doesn't look all that different from the old Hest 2.0s. Most of these, the differences between that model and the 3.0 are just subtle refinements. This triple black one comes in here at $225, but there's also, we've got some satin blade and other versions of the 3.0 right now. We've got Nylox blade steel on this one, just over 3 inches. And in terms of a hard use folder, this is one of those really good designs that gets a lot of work done, can stand up to a lot of abuse without being kind of obnoxiously over large, if you know what I'm talking about. It's still a very manageable blade length. But it's nice and thick, but you've still got a full flat grind to kind of offset that a little bit, so you get that strength there at the spine, but you still have some pretty decent cutting ability, I'd say, in terms of efficiency anyway. We've also got some serrations here, and they're sort of a like the mini flat top type of variation, which means you're gonna have an easier time when it comes time to resharpen those, because you know, a lot of people say serrations never need sharpening. They will eventually, but they are gonna last a good long time. Longer than a plain edge typically, but these will be easier to sharpen when it gets time to do that. Of course, that other key feature you see on the Hest series is this little cutout in the spine. Works for a couple things, works as a bottle opener, and it also works as a pocket deployer, kind of like the Emerson Wave. You can grab that on the hem of your pocket and rotate the blade open as you draw it, which is quite nice. And the jimping here, it's 3 different sizes, and that's supposed to act as a wire stripper as well. The front is still G10, just like the standard 2.0s, but looking at the back, you can see one difference pretty immediately. Some of the old 2.0s had a curved pocket clip. The new 3.0 has this straight pocket clip here, and it's fully reversible, which the curved pocket clip didn't reverse quite so well on the old versions. This one is made by LIONSTEEL. As you can see, we've got LIONSTEEL's RotoBlock system there, which when it's open, just rotate that little circle right there over, and it's going to keep you from actually being able to push that titanium frame lock out. Other slight improvements they've made for the 3.0, the lock bar insert here is now 440 steel, which they think works a little bit better than what they used to be using. We've still got that nice carbide glass breaker there at the bottom. It's still just a solid, compact, heavy-duty, tactical utility knife. One of those bomb-proof designs that really works while still being very easy to carry. All right, we've also got some new Eclipses from Rick Hinderer. This is the Eclipse Tri-Way with the Harpoon Tanto blade, which is a very cool iteration of this design. Comes in at $425 right now. That Harpoon Tanto blade is 20 CV, and it's got Rick's stonewashed finish. Although I will say he's got a stonewash and a working finish, and the working finish kind of feels like a really heavy stonewash. Maybe it's just me, but this particular stonewash on this one feels a little bit heavier than the standard stonewash, but I could be imagining that. In any case, it looks cool, and you guys know I love a stonewash finish because it's going to hide those scratches as you use the knife, so your blade is going to look better for longer than like a mirror polished blade will. But this is another great solid design that's going to be able to do some heavy work. We've got a nice thick blade here, a little bit thinner than that DPX. Handles on this one are orange G10. You got a little bit of texture there. And of course on the back, it is a titanium frame lock because this is a titanium frame lock flipper. 2-position pocket clip. You can set it up or tip down on the right side. And this does come equipped with the Hinderer tri-way pivot system, but you've got ball bearings installed, and you've got some other washer options included in the box if you want to swap things out. Those ball bearings, of course, are great in terms of making a really good flipping action, but they can be a little more susceptible to like dirt and sand and stuff, which is, some people ask why bother with those other options for the pivot. That would be why. If you're going to get one of the knives really dirty, you might prefer some of those standard washers over the bearings. All right, earlier when we were talking about that compression lock on the SPYDERCO, I mentioned we had another knife that lets you open and close it while keeping your fingers out of the path of the blade. We've got new versions of the Fox Radius in stock. And what's nice about this design, or the new variants particularly, is they are more attainable than the previous versions that were available. This knife is really cool, actually. It won both Imported Knife of the Year and the Overall Knife of the Year at Blade Show last year. I think it was Blade Show West when it made that, although it might have been the standard Blade Show. I can't quite remember. But up till now, the only versions that were out were the high trim models with really fancy handles, Damasteel blades, fancier stuff, and they were quite pricey as a result. Now you can get them in G10 with N690 blades for about $165 right now. There's 2 versions at the moment. We've got black G10 with a black backspacer, as well as an OD green G10 with an orange backspacer, which I think looks exceptionally cool, and both of them are the same price. Blade, as I said, was N690. This is an Italian-made knife, being a Fox. Comes in under 3 inches, so again, great for taking just about anywhere, and it's got a really good everyday utility blade shape to it as well. Kind of this modified sheep's foot profile with a flat grind and a nice stone-washed finish. It's just ready to take with you. It's going to get some good work done. And the handles, also very cool. You got your G10. It's kind of I can actually get a full grip on it, but it's kind of a 3.5 finger for me. It's not quite like a full grip, but you've got a little bit of space around the pivot you could choke up on. So I guess I still can get that gorilla grip and really force it through some heavier cuts if need be. Just make sure when you're doing that gorilla grip, you avoid that lock bar, or not lock bar, but that lock release right there. But you can see that radial track in the handle is where this knife gets its name, that radius, because you can open and close the knife with this thumb stud right here, which pokes through the handle. It pushes in kind of like a button, and it's really easy to do once you get the hang of it. The first time I tried to do it, maybe a little bit awkward, but you get used to it really quick. Nice and smooth travel on the open or close. Again, keeps your fingers out of the way. Very nice. In terms of carry, we've got a right-handed deep carry, or sorry, not deep carry, but a right-handed wire pocket clip here. It's not reversible, but it's going to be kind of tricky, I think, to operate left-handed with this type of lock anyway. So I don't think you're really missing out much by not having that be reversible right there. But yeah, it's a really cool design. It's going to be even easier to get your hands on one thanks to the new lower price. This next knife, however, is not going to be as easy to get its hands on because the price on this is significantly higher, just under $2,500. This is one of the new Uni-Hati collaborations between Shirogorov and Chris Reeve knives. It's just a really, really fine piece. And this is one of the times I really like working here because otherwise I wouldn't get a chance to handle one of these either. Or if you have held a Shirogorov before, you know that they are just utterly precise. They're put together exceptionally well. They're just a thing of beauty. The designs are nice and refined. Everything feels really good. We've got about a 4-inch blade of Vanax 37 here, but the whole knife feels very lightweight. Let me check the weight here, actually. Only 4.5 ounces, which for a knife this size is quite impressive. One of the nice things I like that they do in terms of attention to detail, you've got some nice crowned edges here along the jimping, but their edges specifically. Like, I love a nice thin edge, which is hard to do consistently, especially for a production company, but the edge right here is so thin and so precise. It's just one of those things that, you know, may or may not come through in photos, but in person it is truly impressive. And part of how they're able to achieve that is, like I said, this is hard to do for a production company, but Shirogorov aren't production knives. These are handmade, hand-built, and put together. So, you know, there you go. That's how they're able to achieve that right there. The handles here, we've got titanium frame lock on the back, and the front scale is a yellow Alutex, which is essentially, it's kind of like an aluminum glass fiber composite. So you get kind of that look of carbon fiber, but you get some cool colors as a result. And then on top of that, we've got a piece of titanium, and that's where the Chris Reeve parts come in. Anyone who knows Chris Reeve and knows the Sebenza knows that they like to put out some special computer-generated graphic versions of those knives, and that's what they've done here. Now, we've had a few of these Unihatis come through so far, each one of them a little bit different from the last. And I think I may have actually shown you one before too. But this particular one with this particular pattern was instantly striking. It really grabbed my eye, so I really wanted to show it to you guys. I don't know, maybe I just wanted to handle it for myself and give me an excuse to do that by putting it in the video. But it's really cool. It's really cool. I can't say enough good things about it. It's really cool. All right, if you want a fancy folder but don't have 2,500 bucks to spend, I've got another option here. This is the new 150th anniversary Boy Scout knife from BOKER. This is a genuine German-made BOKER too. This is not one of the BOKER Pluses that is made overseas or one of the Arbolito knives from South America. This is a German-made knife and it comes in just over 164 right now. Blade length is about 2.2 inches. We've got N690 steel, and these 150th anniversary knives are all individually numbered. They're serialized out of 150 pieces only. So these aren't gonna last forever, and you can see you've got that serial there on the back of the blade. Moving back to the front of the blade, you've got some commemorative text there with some nice gold inlay right there behind the tree logo, which looks really cool, and some really nice green dyed curly birch handles. Curly birch, of course, especially in Scandinavian circles, but Europe as well, is a very historically commonly used material in the knife making tradition, and just looks fantastic with this green dye, especially offset with the gold coloration of that shield right there. This isn't the only knife in their 150th anniversary series we have available. There are some other folders, including some slip joints, I think, as well as some fixed blades, and my favorite is this new version of the Ranger's Knicker knife, which is a very traditionally shaped German-style hunting knife. Think like some of the old Pumas out there. Just a time-proven design from that country, that part of the European continent. This one right now comes in about $224. Again, we've got N690, about 4.3 inches in this case. Again, serialized. This particular one is 79 out of 150, marked there on the back. We've got those similar graphics on the front. Full flat grind, nice drop to the edge there, good drop point shape. Again, this is a hunting knife by tradition, and that's certainly gonna do a good job there. We've got a slightly crowned spine for comfort, as well as some jimping out here that'll give you a little bit of extra traction when you're choked up with your index finger, but it's not super sharp where it's gonna tear things up if you're gonna actually use this knife as opposed to just collect it. I would really wanna go out and use it. It just looks fantastic. Curly birch again, with those nickel silver bolsters and butt cap. You can tell kind of because they have a little bit of a brassy coloration, just a hint of it. Of course, not as much as the gold here, but you do see that just a little bit on those bolsters. As far as the sheath goes, it comes with a very simple and classic black leather with a couple of retention straps. You've got one here, which is gonna hook over the guard, as well as a loop up here, which is gonna keep the handle flush with the belt loop so that it doesn't bend out as much on you in that type of direction. So speaking of commemorative fixed blades, we've got a new option here from CONDOR. You may have remembered this from our SHOT Show footage earlier this year. Even though CONDOR didn't make the Mark II fighting knife back in World War II, this is designed as sort of a tribute and an homage to the soldiers in World War II. This is their World War II commemorative fixed blade, coming in about $170 right now. The blade is about 7 inches long, and it does feature 1075 steel, which is kind of standard for CONDOR, but they've nickel plated it to give it this reflective quality as well as protect it from corrosion just a little bit as well. We've got a nice thick guard here at the back rather than the old style simple stamped guard, and it's more biased towards the front side. You can kind of get up over the back side if you want, if you were going to choke up on it and use the knife that way. Handles are still stacked leather. You've got a star here on the front and back, which I'm guessing is probably laser engraved. Obviously it's done after the fact, but the contouring is done pretty well. You can see we've got a swell both from the top down and from side to side. So it's not like some of those old carbon steel ones, or sorry, those old World War II versions that might have had completely round handles. I know my old Camillus Mark II from that era is just a completely round handle. So this is less likely to actually twist on you when you're using the knife. This knife does come with a nice nice wooden box here, no sheath though. And as you can see, we've got the 1945 to 2020 on the top here. Again, this is celebrating the people who defended our freedoms, but also the actual end, 75th anniversary end of the war. And you can see there on the inside, you've got a nice fitted plate, or nice fitted section for the knife. It fits in there quite nicely, and it's padded as well to protect it. And then you've got a nice plaque here, a dedication plaque here in the top. Really nice presentation piece overall. All right, if you're looking for a more modern design in your fixed blade, check this guy out. We've got a new version of the M7 from LIONSTEEL. Now you may have remembered one of the T5s we showed you a couple weeks ago that has an integral micarta handle. This is a full tang knife. You can see there from the back that it does extend all the way out the back. But the micarta is a single piece. There's no seam here on the front side, and that gets you, one, a good amount of strength, but also comfort. There's no, they don't have to worry about hot spots or mating up the seam to the tang of the knife. It's a really nice execution. Two new versions of this knife. The M7 is not a brand new design, but we've got a couple new variants. This one comes in at $234. We've also got a black coated version that comes in for about 10 bucks more. And this is a 7-inch blade of Sleipner steel. Nice satin finish, really hard working, crown spine. Italian knife after all, we see that a lot from the Italians. So it's gonna be comfortable when you're choking up on it, any of that sort of thing. If you're thinking of using this as a survival or outdoor knife, you won't be able to strike a fire steel from that, so keep that in mind. But it also makes for really good comfort here on the back of the knife as well. One of the other things I like in terms of comfort that handle construction gets you is the finger guard here is very broad, so it's not going to pinch in on you if you're needing to do some heavier thrusting. You've got a nice wide contact patch that's smoothed over quite nicely as well, so it's going to feel really good. Then a nice roomy finger choil up there. Even my large fingers have no problem fitting in there. So you can kind of think of this as sort of a nicer or more premium version of the, or premium alternative to something like the SE6 perhaps. Although the new SE6s with their contoured handles do feel really good. You've also got some excellent comfort here. You've got that nice finger choil, similar length, if not a little bit more. And you've actually got even higher performance to that steel, that Sleipner steel. Kind of a sort of a modification or an evolution of D2. It's a bit more higher end, however. And in fact, LIONSTEEL even says that in terms of the cutting performance of this steel, it even exceeds M390, which is pretty impressive. But then on top of that, also, it's tougher than D2. D2, of course, is not the toughest steel out there for some of the real thrashier, heavy-duty applications. So even more so than the excellent edge retention of this steel, I would really appreciate that extra toughness that you get, especially on a design like this. The sheath on this knife is really excellently done as well. Nice and heavy duty, definitely not an afterthought. Got a Kydex main section here with a slightly jimped section here for pushing off with your thumb, so you get a little bit of extra traction there. Now, even though that Kydex is going to do a good job of holding the knife, you do get a secondary strap here and a couple of straps here for belt attachment. You've got snaps on the back as well as some Velcro there too, so you've got double retention there. You see that at the bottom of the sheath as well. Now, if you wanted to take this backer off, I did kind of measure these holes up to my tech lock I keep on hand around here, and it is just a little bit off. You might be able to jimmy it a little bit and use the tech lock, but it doesn't look like they perfectly match up to the holes there, so keep that in mind. But if you're simply gonna carry that drop style on your belt, it's a really good sheath and a really cool knife that goes into it. So I don't always show you as much of the full-on custom stuff that we get in here at the KnifeCenter. A lot of times we may only have one of a given item, so by the time I'm doing these videos, It may have sold out really quickly, or we don't necessarily want to put too much energy behind it here. But this one, I had to show you. This is a new, the Always Survive from BORKA blades. And I saw it on our website and I was like, let's take a look at that. Let's pull that. And I didn't even think about why, but now that I have it in my hand, it's pretty obvious. This is kind of a tactical Nessmuck, which you guys know I love my Nessmucks. So that's pretty cool. This guy is a little bit more expensive, more than a little bit. Comes in at just over $1,400, about $1,425 right now. We've got LMAX steel, hollow ground main portion, as well as hollow ground harpoon point. Now, I say harpoon point, but it is kind of gentle. You got a little bit of an apex there, which is kind of why it makes me think a little bit of a Nessmuck design. But a really cool tread pattern finish. He calls it BORKA patterned. That's the way he designates that. And a pretty cool wrapped handle design. We've got maroon rayskin underneath a black cord wrap, and you've got some emblems embedded in there as well. Gives you a really good amount of traction and just a really cool look as well. The sheath is pretty neat too. It's sort of a, it's leather, but it's sort of a pancake style. Not actually Kydex, but it slips in there quite nicely. And it even comes with a clip here on the piece of leather that's attached. So this would be good inside the waistband. This would be a good boot knife if you're into that sort of thing. And in addition to that, these two holes right here at the top are actually large Tech-Lock compatible. So if you wanted to carry it a little bit differently, you've got those options as well. But it's just a really, really slick looking knife. Very cool. New BORKA blades. Check them out. This isn't the only new item from BORKA that we've got right now, so make sure to check them all out. Couple things left. We've got a new batch of trainers from BRS. This is the trainer version of the Barebones balisong. Comes in at about $200 right now, and it's built just like the live bladed version. So if you're looking to practice and train a little more safely, this is definitely the one to get. BRS are kind of the gold standard in terms of attainably priced balisongs out there, and you definitely see it here. The action is just as smooth as can be. Even if I can't do very much, I can kind of open and close. I can feel the balance. I can feel the tightness in a good way. It's not difficult to spin, but it feels so precisely done. The balance should be pretty much identical to the live bladed version because you've got those cutouts there. And they even use 154 cm steel here as well, even though it doesn't actually carry an edge. Of course, the handles are stainless steel as well. We've got a nice stonewashed finish on there. So if you're dropping it as you practice, again, scratches are gonna blend in pretty well with that type of finish right there. But if you're looking for a really good trainer, this is certainly a great option. We also put out a video a few weeks ago on other good balisong trainers, so make sure to check that out as well if you're looking to get into this hobby and don't quite have the $200 to spend on this one. All right, one more thing, and I do apologize for the packaging here. This is the new Deschutes camp axe from Kershaw, and I really like the design overall. It's pretty nice. This comes in at $60. Let me get a better look at this here. We've got stainless steel. I think it's 3CR, so nothing too crazy in terms of edge retention, but it's going to be a bit tougher for those, those choppy tasks that you're going to need it for. That steel is full tang too. You can see the bolts here and here, and just a little bit of it there at the back of the handle. It doesn't quite stick out. The edges on the haft here are rounded over, or chamfered, I should say. So if you needed to choke up a little bit behind there to get some work done behind the edge, it's quite nice. And what I really like that they've done is they've given you a nice carry system. And I apologize again for the packaging. You can only see this on the back of it here, but we've got a nice strap that goes from the end of the handle up to the sheath itself. So you can sling this over your back or over a pack or something a little more easily and take it with you quite nicely right there. But yeah, I really like it. Maybe we'll have to take one out of stock and go beating on one perhaps. We'll see. All right, that's all I've got to show you just now. Make sure to keep sticking around. I'll keep bringing you these videos of all the new stuff every week as they come in. But let us know what your favorites were down in the comments. And if you want to get your hands on any of these cool knives, we will leave links in the description that'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're there, because if you're gonna buy one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. I hope you're all staying safe, sane, and sanitary out there. See you next time.